course, as you can see, with us tonight is our friend Mike Murphy, veteran GOP strategist, longtime advisor to people like Mitt Romney, Jeb Bush, John McCain. He also happens to be a senior fellow up at Harvard. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
I have an uncomfortable question to start you. The battle damage assessment for your party just thus far this week?
Oh, it's a complete disaster. I think the political coroner is going to rule this one as suicide. It is self-inflicted. It's morally repugnant. It's a stain on the history of the country and on this presidency. I think this is a disaster in at least 70 to 100 congressional districts. Even in base Republican districts, this thing has people outraged. These are not Republican values. These are not American values. And this one is going to be a big price paid. Now, you can see the political machinery working as the Senate is in just about full revolt now, and the House, which is more factionalized on this immigration issue, is following. So there's tremendous energy there to get out of this thing, but a lot of damage has already been done. If they move very quickly, they can ameliorate some of it.
I was thinking tonight about a member of Congress like Leonard Lance. He's a Republican in a blue area of northern Jersey, not far from where we're having this discussion. Right. I've got nothing against him at all. You and I could sit down with a laptop and GarageBand and make a spot right now that could help to defeat him in November using just this issue.
Yeah, no, look, the moderates, the guys at the toughest districts, are going to be the first casualties. That's kind of the cruel irony of this. But, you know, when you follow your president off a cliff of insanity, when you have dregs working as staffers in the White House who order this kind of behavior, you're going to pay a political price, and that's what's going to happen.
What if the Dems and the left had their act together?
Well,
what would that look like?
Well, I think you're going to see it now, because this thing, you don't have to be a political genius. You know, the president and this policy has managed to offend the whole country on a deep, fundamental level. So you don't have to be a political Machiavelli to put together the campaign. But people are going to be out wanting to punish the party for this. And the next wave will be, we're going to see it on TV. We're not just going to hear audio tape of a kid screaming for his or her mother. We're going to see it. And then there will be the investigations, the recriminations. The president, being the president, will dig in. I mean, today it was a case study in non-presidential leadership. He went in front of the House, you know, the Republican conference, and said, I'm for both bills, keep fighting.
And didn't hear a peep in opposition.
Yeah, no, quietly, they're all horrified. But the Senate will move fast, and they will follow. Now, the legal problem here is it's a little tricky to figure out how the Congress can micromanage the Justice Department. Lamar Alexander in the Senate is right. The president could stop this thing in an hour, you know, with one phone call. And clearly he doesn't want to do that. He wants to play a political game that ultimately is going to, you know, massively hurt the party he's allegedly for.
And you think he digs in more before a breaking point or a tipping point?
Yeah, I think he's a toddler. Push and he throws a tantrum. He wanted to talk today about Mark Sanford and take some victory lap over a primary. You know, it's infantile. And I think he does not understand what's happening here, or he doesn't care. You've got people like Lewandowski, who's on Pence's payroll, out mocking these people. I mean, this is not only tone deaf, this is morally deficient. And a price will be paid. It's still America.
Thank you, my friend, for coming by.
Oh, thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.